Today is the day after Prince Philip passed away. It is the 10th of April 2021, and I've waited literally until the evening of the second day for further details to come out because I highly anticipated that we would know a little bit more than what we did earlier on in the day. And I think this is the pattern that I'm going to adopt going forwards, especially through this mourning period up until the funeral, because I think if I do a live chat, if I come on towards the end of the day, roughly around about 7 p.m. British time, I think we'll have pretty much all the information that will be released that day at that time. So all the information I'm going to bring you coming up is true and correct as of now. I did make a big long list of things to talk about. Some things are actually redundant on my list, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. Where we know the facts, I will talk about the facts and I will say it's facts. Where there is a little bit of kind of we don't know, a little bit of muddy, cloudy water at the moment, I will say that. I will say that we're talking about things that we don't know, that might be speculation, and we will talk about some possible speculations. So, what I'm going to do first of all is go into the chat room, because obviously this is a live chat, so I will be reading some viewer comments and questions. But I just want to, I think I can see people dropping in already. We have 117 people. Thank you so much for all the messages of condolence that you left to Prince Philip and the royal, for the royal family, basically, on yesterday's video. That was pretty much yesterday's video was pretty much me reacting to the news, the sad news that Prince Philip had passed away, literally only about half an hour after I'd first learned the news. So today's video, we do have a little bit more clarity. In the UK press and the world press, there have been tributes pouring in, lots of lovely, warm tributes pouring in to the Duke. So, and the royal, about the Duke to the royal family. So first of all, I'm going to start with an official, if I just turn around and show you, this is an official Buckingham Palace press release. So all of what I'm going to read to you now is true and accurate. This is not misinformation. This is the real deal. So this statement was issued by Buckingham Palace on Saturday the 10th of April. Sorry, even though I've got glasses on, it's a little bit blurry, this picture. And it is an official press release. So the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh. So these are the official details that we know yet, and I'm sure there will be some more trickling in, but these are the official funeral details of the Duke of Edinburgh as we know them now. So the funeral of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, will take place at St George's Chapel, Windsor, on Saturday the 17th of April 2021 at 1500 hours, which is 3 o'clock British time in the afternoon. So, about that, I can see a donation. Thank you so much to Ashley for the £4.99 donation. Thank you. So yes, next Saturday, literally okay, I'm getting tongue-tied because there's been so much speculation out there about when and how and where. Personally, I thought it might have been a little bit longer in the future, but no, it is actually as quick and as soon as next Saturday. The service will be preceded by a ceremonial procession inside the grounds of Windsor Castle. So, this is not a full state funeral. Any real public elements of the ceremonial have been taken away, have been stripped back because of COVID and all the restrictions that the UK currently still has in place at the moment. So this is, although the Duke of Edinburgh didn't want a full state funeral anyway, whatever public elements there were have now literally been stripped back. So the Duke of Edinburgh's coffin, covered with His Royal Highness's personal standard and dressed with a wreath of flowers, is resting currently, so not lying in state, it's resting in the private chapel at Windsor Castle, where it will remain until the day of his funeral. So, I don't know if the embalming has already taken place. I would imagine that it would have done, and that his coffin is now resting in the private chapel of Windsor Castle. On Saturday the 17th of April, the Duke of Edinburgh's coffin will be moved by a bearer party found by the Queen's Company, the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards, positioned in the quadrangle at Windsor Castle, and will be representative detachments drawn from His Royal Highness's military special relationships. Thank you again so much for the 1999 donation. So obviously the Duke of Edinburgh had many military connections, and they will be represented in his funeral. His Royal Highness's coffin will be carried in a purpose-built Land Rover. Now, this is the interesting detail, which the Duke was involved in the design of. So his coffin won't be on a gun carriage, it won't be in a regular hearse, it will be on a purpose-built Land Rover, which he had a hand in designing. Flanked by military pole bearers in a small ceremonial procession from the state entrance to St George's Chapel for the funeral service. Members of the royal family and the Duke of Edinburgh's household will walk behind the coffin from the quadrangle down Chapel Hill and into Horseshoe Cloister. The funeral service will begin with a national minute silence at 3 o'clock, 1500 hours. So the nation will literally be silent for that minute, a mark of respect. The funeral service will be attended by Her Majesty the Queen, members of the royal family. The coffin will be carried by a bearer party found by the Royal Marines this time, will be received at the top of the west steps of St George's Chapel by the Dean of Windsor and the Archbishop of Canterbury. Again, thank you so much for the 1999 donation from Leslie. The Duke of Edinburgh's naval cap and sword will be placed on the coffin ahead of the service. So just his naval cap and his sword. No mention of flowers. Perhaps he didn't want flowers. And His Royal Highness's insignia will be laid on the altar of the chapel. At the conclusion of the service, His Royal Highness will be interred in the Royal Vault in St George's Chapel. We'll talk about that in a moment. Union flags are currently flying at half-mast at royal residences and will remain at half-mast until the day after the funeral. Also on public buildings, the flags are flying at half-mast. It is the Queen's wish that the royal family will observe 2 weeks of royal mourning starting tomorrow. So the Queen is in personal mourning up until the day of the funeral and including the day of the funeral. This means typically that she will be wearing black and that she will not have any public or royal engagements during that time. The wider royal family will be observing a 2-week mourning period where again they will not be performing royal duties unless they are deemed absolutely essential to do so. So we still might see some royal duties going ahead. Now, I want to go back to about where his coffin is going to be laid to rest, because there was much speculation about this. I've heard so many different rumours and stories coming out of different newspapers. Some newspapers have reported it was going to be the grounds of Frogmore, the kind of grassy open space of the grounds of Frogmore House, which I didn't think it was going to be that anyway, but lots of news reporters were saying that. Then I've had a long-held belief, because I watched a programme or I read something somewhere years and years ago, I can't even find it now, where it was said that Queen Elizabeth II wishes to be buried in the George VI vault. Now, the George VI vault, of course, George VI was her father. He's in a vault with Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and Princess Margaret's ashes. Now, there was, it's long been said that there is space in that George VI vault for 2 more coffins. And now, obviously, the people have kind of thought that, well, the Queen will probably have wanted to be buried when the time comes, of course, with her mother, her father, and her sister. So the obvious other space could be taken up by, of course, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, because why would the Queen and Prince Philip not want to be buried or interred together? So I've always thought that Philip would go into the George VI vault, and then obviously the Queen would join him when it was her time. But no, it seems like he's going to go into the royal vault. Now, this is a much larger vault under the floor. By the way, the George VI vault, there is kind of like a little chapel kind of on the top of it, but all of these vaults are kind of in the floor, kind of accessed, and they're like underground cellar type rooms. So it looks like Philip is going to go into the bigger royal vault, and if the long-standing rumours are true and that Queen Elizabeth wishes to be with her parents and sister, perhaps at the time of when Queen Elizabeth passes away and is interred into that vault, they might actually move Prince Philip at that time. So Elizabeth and Philip will possibly join the George VI vault at the time of Queen Elizabeth's death. So that could be the plan, which seems a little bit odd to me, because why not just put Philip in there straight away? Philip doesn't like fuss, and kind of moving his coffin sounds like fuss to me. So to me, it doesn't make sense, but I think that's what the plan might be. So Philip goes into the larger royal vault. Queen Elizabeth will be interred together with Philip we think in the George VI vault when that time comes. So I'm going to stop now and just go up and kind of see what people are saying. If there was any yes, Prince Philip does have his own standard. All these senior royals have their own personal standards. If you can see the flag behind me, that is just the general kind of royal standard. But each and every senior royal does have their own standard. Again, I can see lots of people sending thoughts and prayers and messages to the royal family. Sue says, I think the Land Rover is perfect for him. Yes, he loved his off-road vehicles. He was still driving, even after he was kind of banned from... Well, no, even though he kind of quit. He wasn't banned, he quit from driving on public roads. He was still driving up until not terribly long ago on his own country land, shall I say. Nancy says, thanks for the update. Will be a sombre but respectful tribute to the Duke. By the way, this ceremony is going to be televised. I don't know if it will be online at the moment, but it will be televised. I think the BBC here in the UK will be televising it. But it could also be broadcast online as well, possibly on the Royal Family YouTube channel. Now, I'm going to start going through my list now, because there is lots of things I want to talk about and catch up on. Right, first on my list, I saw an article, people were asking about what happens to Prince Philip's titles. So, as we know, he is the Duke of Edinburgh, and he also has some subsidiary titles as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the other titles, but basically what happens is there has been a long-standing understanding or belief that Philip wanted his titles, including the main Duke of Edinburgh title, to pass on to the Earl of Wessex, Prince Edward, when he died. So, we do have some confirmation on that. There were certain possible routes of how that title could get to Edward, and this is the answer to it. So the Royal College of Arms, now these are the kind of authority on titles and styles, have confirmed that His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales has become the Duke of Edinburgh. So because Prince Charles is the eldest son, he inherits the titles under UK law. So the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, does actually in fact have another dukedom to his name. He is also the Duke of Edinburgh, as well as the Duke of Cornwall, all of his other titles, and of course the Prince of Wales. No, Prince Charles will not be styling himself the Duke of Edinburgh. It's just another kind of title that amalgamates into all of his other many titles. His main title is still, and style is still the Prince of Wales, and of course his main dukedom is still the Dukedom of Cornwall. So we aren't going to be referring to Prince Charles as the Duke of Edinburgh. So on the 20th of November 1947, the Duke of Edinburgh was, of course, well, Prince Philip was created the Duke of Edinburgh, Earl of Merioneth and Baron Greenwich. So those are his titles in the County of London. These peerages are hereditary, and on the death of His Royal Highness have passed to his eldest son, His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. In the event of the Prince of Wales or any subsequent holder of these titles succeeding to the crown, which of course Prince Charles will, on the death of Queen Elizabeth, he will become king. These titles kind of amalgamate and merge with the crown. So the monarch is kind of only known as has his or her Royal Highness the King or the Queen. And of course, the Queen at the moment does indeed hold the Dukedom of Lancaster, of which Charles will as well. But basically, all of Charles's other titles, including the Duke of Edinburgh and all the other Prince Philip subsidiary titles, will be able to be redistributed by Charles to Prince Edward, and that is the intention. So Prince Edward will not be the Duke of Edinburgh or any of the other titles until the Queen passes away and Prince Charles redistributes those titles, passes them on to Edward. So that is the route of which Edward will be granted those titles. So I thought I would clear that up before, obviously, any other wild speculation comes about. So that was one of the first things on my list to talk about. Next on my list, Harry and Meghan. People are asking what's going to happen with Harry and Meghan. I do believe earlier today, just not that long ago, we had some kind of confirmation that we do believe that Prince Harry is going to travel to the UK. We don't know if it's going to be a commercial flight. There aren't many commercial flights, I think, at the moment. And so possibly by a private jet. Meghan, I think Meghan, on the advice of her doctors, of course she's in the advanced stages of pregnancy, she is unable to fly because of that reason. So I don't entirely know when Prince Harry will be heading over to the UK. Of course, he's got until the day of the funeral, really, to kind of get here. Although I imagine he would probably be here at least maybe 2 or 3 days prior to the funeral. So we could begin to see some kind of movement from Prince Harry soon. Whether we'll get any announcements formally or officially or confirmations, I do not know. People have also been asking where will he be staying. Well, I would imagine he'd be staying at Frogmore Cottage. Of course, he is paying monthly rental installments on the cottage, so it kind of makes sense to me that he would stay in the cottage that he is renting. Also, a lot of people talking about the atmosphere that might be there when, of course, Harry is reunited with the rest of his family, especially after all of the Oprah interview and revelations that came about, which of course would have made things perhaps a little bit difficult for the Duke of Edinburgh in his final weeks of life, really. I mean, this is kind of undue stress that perhaps the Duke obviously didn't need. So it is going to be high pressure. It will be high tension when they meet for the first time. But all I'm going to say is this could either go one or two ways. It could either be very awkward, very difficult, or sometimes, and people might know what I mean here, but sometimes when you have family fractions, family fallouts, it can take a tragedy, something really awful happening, a shared tragedy of which you all share, to bring people back together. And that is potentially what could happen. Perhaps, maybe this family tragedy could actually help to heal the wounds. And I certainly hope that is what it will be, rather than kind of perpetuating the fallout and the tensions. I can see people talking about Soho House. I mean, seeing as everything's happening in Windsor, of course, Frogmore Cottage is in the grounds of Windsor Great Park. So it makes more sense for privacy reasons and protection, because, of course, Harry isn't getting UK protection anymore, that everything... I personally think he'll return to Frogmore Cottage. But, hey, anything is possible. So moving on from Harry and Meghan, people have been talking about, does Prince Philip's death have any constitutional changes to the UK? No, they do not. All the constitutional powers are, of course, with Philip's wife, Her Majesty the Queen. So very little constitutionally actually has happened. In fact, probably nothing, I I can't think of anything constitutionally which has happened other than Her Majesty the Queen no longer has a consort. So the most senior male in the family now, of course, is Prince Charles. And this is where the conversations are going. Is Prince Charles going to take on more duties, more responsibilities? In terms of more work, more responsibilities, I don't think so, because Prince Philip retired in 2017. So Charles has already been accompanying the Queen, pretty much like a substitute consort for big events such as state banquets and the state opening of Parliament. So very little has changed in terms of constitutional changes. I've spoken about the funeral. I will say, of course, that the royal family does still have to comply with current UK coronavirus restrictions on funerals. So we don't think there's going to be any more than 30 guests allowed at the funeral. Now, I've seen some articles where people are speculating who will go. I mean, they have quite a big family, so I imagine there's lots of people that would want to go that can't be there. I'm not entirely sure whether, I mean, some people have included in the list of people they think might be going, Prince George, Charles and Louis. They're still young. I don't think I attended my first funeral until I was sort of 11 or 12 years old. So they're still young to kind of sit for that amount of time. So personally, I'm not entirely sure whether George, Charles and Louis or any other royal children will be there. And obviously, if they weren't there, it would open up the spaces for more of the kind of extended family to be there as well. Possibly the Prime Minister Boris Johnson might also be there, but we will see. We'll see who's there. We'll see how that transpires on the day, because of course it will be televised. But it is pretty much a private family occasion, even though it will be kind of shared with the world. I actually think that Prince Philip would have preferred it this way. He doesn't like fuss. He doesn't really kind of want the pomp and circumstance about himself. He doesn't mind attending it, of course. Well, rather, he didn't mind attending it. But he didn't really like the attention and limelight on himself. So I actually think, really, that kind of this will play into really what Prince Philip wanted. I think he was asked once how he felt, how he would feel about being 100, and he kind of said that he kind of really didn't want to make it. So no, he said, I think he said it would be bloody awful or something of that nature. So he's probably got his wish that he didn't actually make it, although it is rather sad that he didn't to the rest of us, I suppose. The royal family's website has been completely updated. There are lots of tributes. There is too much for me to sit here and read and go through. So if you do head on over to the main royal family website, there are so many tributes of different elements of his life, his royal patronages, his military appointments, his military career. There is also an online guest book. So the government, the police, have been removing floral tributes from the members of the public have been leaving at the gates of Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, all the other royal residences. This is not to be mean. It's not to be horrible. This is to do with keeping people safe. It's to do with maintaining social distancing and the coronavirus restrictions currently at the moment. So if you do want to leave a tribute or a message or something, please go to the official online book of condolence and leave your message there. It really does help to keep people safe. And also, I do believe you can access this from anywhere in the world. So unlike any other royal deaths that have gone before, the guest book can actually be signed by anybody around the world. This truly is a chance for everybody around the world to leave their messages of condolence. So please feel free to leave your message, to visit the website, have a look around there, but also to visit and leave your message in the book of condolence. Like I said, flowers and donations are being discouraged at the moment. Flags, yes, flags are being flown at half-mast on all royal palaces and, of course, public buildings, as in mark of respect. There was also a gun a gunshot tribute as well that was held earlier today. I think it was a 99 gun salute, obviously one for every year of Philip's life. I've spoken about the 8 days of official mourning for the Queen, 2 weeks of official mourning for the rest of the royal family. Yesterday, pretty much all of the terrestrial TV channels were just literally cancelled. So pretty much all of British TV was Prince Philip the whole day through. So, I mean, again, these TV stations prepare announcements year on year in case any senior royals die. They always keep kind of black suits and jackets in case they have to do a death announcement. And they pre-record messages and tributes to have ready to play. All of Philip's children, Princess Anne, Prince Edward, Charles and Andrew, did actually make some pre-recorded comments about their father on the event of his death. So if you've seen certain comments and tributes, screenshots, they were pre-recorded by the BBC to be shown at this sad occasion, I suppose. So, again, too many words for me to kind of read through, but if you do get a chance to see that, do go and watch it, because they all said some really lovely, touching words. Also, Prince Charles today, and I've literally only kind of just really finished watching it. If you go to the royal family's Twitter account, and I think it might be on Instagram too, but I haven't checked, Prince Charles came outside and did a lovely message where he thanked people for their messages of condolence, and he paid his own tribute to his father. I think we will also see other royals coming out in due course paying their own tributes. Harry and Meghan also updated their Archewell website yesterday. They said, in loving memory of His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, 1921 to 2021, thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed. So they've updated their website with their tribute too. I'm just trying to make sure I literally have... Oh yes, I wanted to talk about who's been visiting the Queen. So obviously on the day of the announcement, the royal family were informed. Prince Charles visited the Queen on Friday afternoon, where he travelled from Highgrove. So if the royal family did suspect that anything was going to happen with Philip, the royals hadn't kind of amalgamated on Windsor Castle to be there. So it kind of makes me think that although his health was failing, and I've also read articles about how his health has been since he returned from hospital. So apparently they relaxed lots of kind of royal protocols and things around meal times, because obviously the royal family have pretty much set meal times. So basically Prince Philip was kind of eating when he wanted to. He was allowed to kind of, well, he asked to kind of sit outside in the sunshine where he would have a blanket. He would fall asleep. On one occasion, it was said that he dropped his, I think it was his hearing aid. That's if he wore one at all, because he wasn't very fond of wearing his hearing aid towards the end. So the Queen was reportedly said, well, we're all going to have to speak up then. But apparently he dropped it, and a footman or an attendant went down to pick it up, and he said, no, I'll do it. And he actually bent down and got it himself. So although perhaps his health was failing, he was still pretty sharp to the end. So I think normally he's woken up in bed about 8:30. We think that those kind of rules may have been relaxed, not rules, but kind of what he usually did. Normal conventions for him were kind of relaxed a little bit. So we don't know whether or not, all we know is that he passed away peacefully. So we don't know whether he was found in the morning when someone came in, but there has been talk that the Queen was at his bedside when he passed away. So that kind of indicates maybe it was more like sort of at least from 8:30 until about 10:30 in the morning. So to give some kind of indication of time frame, we think he passed away between 8:30 and about 10:30. So I'm going to go through yesterday, pretty much what we think is coming out as being true. So the talk is that the Queen was with the Duke at his bedside when he passed away. The Queen's bedchamber and the Duke's bedchamber is adjoined by a dressing room, so she could have easily passed through to be with him. At 10:45, Prince Andrew was the first royal spotted to arrive at Windsor Castle. So we think by that point the Duke had passed away, and that Andrew was the first to arrive. Of course, Prince Andrew lives the closest. He lives at Royal Lodge at Windsor, in Windsor Great Park. So he arrived at 10:45. Prince Edward, who lives at Bagshot Park, not too far away, arrived half an hour later at 11:15. And then, of course, Charles left Highgrove and arrived in the afternoon. And then Prince Charles was seen leaving quite late in the evening, where he returned to Highgrove. Then on this morning, on Saturday morning, the Earl and Countess of Wessex were seen both driving from Windsor Castle, where they had visited the Queen. I think they were said to have spent at least around about an hour with the Queen. Now, they had the window down, and the Countess of Wessex was asked a question by a reporter about how is the Queen. And the Countess of Wessex was heard saying, "The Queen has been amazing." So the Queen has been amazing. And if you kind of zoomed in on the photographs, you could tell that Prince Edward had been crying at some point that day. His eyes looked a little bit tear-stained. Perfectly, of course, understandable, as you would. But I think it's good to know that the Queen has been amazing. And of course, really, the Queen is lucky. She managed to have Philip for 70 years, over 70 years of marriage. Her mother, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, didn't have that luxury with her father. Queen Victoria didn't have that luxury with Prince Albert. They both kind of had their marriages and their true loves kind of cut off quite short. Of course, the Queen Mother went on for 50 plus years without her consort. Well, without being the consort, I suppose. So the Queen's had it lucky, and I think the Queen must, and of course, Charles, Anne, Edward, and Andrew have all had it good because they've had their father so late in life. So I think when it gets to this point where a man is 99 years old, he's had so much achievement, success, dedication, service in life, it's sad when they pass away. But those of us who have lost elderly relatives will know that your mind kind of focuses on their life, on it being a celebration of life. And I think that's what this funeral and the attitudes of the royal children and of course the Queen is going to be, is just being thankful for his life, to just being thankful to have had him, to have known him, and to have had him for such a long time and all the things that he achieved. So I think it really will be a cause for celebration. Personal, intense, great sadness, yes, but a cause for a celebration of life. So it is very, very different. I mean, this is not the same as when, for example, it's not the same as when Princess Diana lost her life, cut short. That was a tragedy. This is a long life lived. It is most definitely a cause for celebration. So there we go. I mean, that's kind of all of the notes that I've made. And of course, this is an ongoing story. This will be developing day by day by day. So it's my plan to possibly come on and do an update, a live chat like this, probably every evening, around about 7 p.m, so that all the news can kind of come in and that I will have everything to hand to be able to tell you in the evening. I think that's the best way of doing it. So, as you know, this channel is all about the truth, it's all about accuracy, it's not about misinformation. Where I have the facts, I will tell you the facts. Where things are speculation, I will tell you it's speculation and we'll talk about the likely possible options. I mean, typically, I suppose, if the Queen had been a normal lady of her age, family might be sort of thinking about moving in with the Queen or having the Queen move in with them. Of course, I don't think that's going to happen. That's going to happen with the Queen. The Queen does have attendants. She does have a really close bubble. I also think it probably was beneficial for the Queen to have that 28 days not so long ago when Prince Philip was in hospital, because she got used to a routine of him not being there physically. So that probably might help get the Queen into a routine. She has her close attendants. Angela Kelly, I'm sure, will be there by her side. She has her family, lots of her family close by. The Wessexes live really close. The Yorks live really close. I think they will be spending particular attention and time with the Queen. She has her horses. She still has her passions. She has her new corgi dogs. So she still has a lot to keep her going and to keep her mind healthy and active, because I know a lot of people are really concerned about the Queen's health and how she's going to get through this and cope with the loss. So what I'm trying to say is she has family close by. She has her dedicated attendants. Angela Kelly, I'm sure, has been an absolute godsend right now. She is completely, I think probably almost considered a bit like a daughter to the Queen. So Angela, I'm sure you're doing an amazing job keeping the Queen happy. And yeah, she has, and of course she has her work. She's still Queen. She's still got to carry on performing the functions and duties of state. I don't think we're going to see a Queen Victoria situation where the Queen withdraws from public life. That is not going to happen. So I will be back tomorrow round about 7 p.m. with all the latest updated information that I know. So as always, like, share, subscribe. And if you want to continue leaving your messages of condolence, do so here in the comments. Also, do visit the official royal website and sign the official book of condolence. So from me in Shropshire, until tomorrow, stay safe, stay happy and stay well. Mwah to you all. Good night.